Morning to you, and welcome to Saturday morning, the 7th of March today. At our church, it's work day. We need to get some things cleaned up and straightened out. So get your quiet time in early because the work day is scheduled to start at 9 o'clock. Today's devotion is entitled The Logos is a Person, and that's a Greek word that means word. That's how John starts. He uses that because it is a Greek word, and he knows he needs to catch the attention of those who think in the Greek way. In the beginning was the Word, or the Logos, and the Logos was with God, and the Logos was God. Obviously, in our English Bibles, those are all the Word. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and that's John 1:1. There is no more striking statement of this difference between Christianity and ancient paganism than that found in the first chapter of the New Testament Gospel of John. There, John brilliantly co opts one of Greek philosophy's main themes when he begins his account saying that in the beginning of time was the Logos. But then he goes on to say the Logos became flesh and made his dwelling among us. We have seen his glory, later on in verse 14. This was an electrifying claim. John was saying, we agree that there is an ordering structure behind the universe and that the meaning of life is to be found in aligning oneself with it. But John was also saying that the logos behind the universe was not an abstract, irrational principle that could be known only through high contemplation by the educated elite. Rather, the logos of the universe is a person, Jesus Christ, who can be loved and known in a personal relationship by anyone at all. Ferry summarizes John's message. That must be an author. Ferry summarizes John's message to the culture like this: the divine was no longer an impersonal structure, but an extraordinary individual. This, Ferry said, was an unfathomable shift which had an incalculable effect on the history of ideas. Those of you who came last year um, to watch the video, John on the island of Patmos, or St. John in Exile, I think maybe is the title of it. Um, it's played out very well, and he talks in that about how people are asking him to write a gospel. Matthew, Mark, and Luke had already done theirs, and he kind of was resistant to it because he'd already written so much um, other things, and and then as the show, as the one man play begins to come to an end, it hits him. Yes, yes, I need to write one that will appeal to the Greeks, to the Gentiles. And so that's why he starts out that way. John is my favorite gospel just because it has so much depth to it, just because it seems to reveal more about the man Jesus than really Matthew, Mark, and Luke do. I'm probably not correct in that, but I love the depth to which he goes with, especially in those opening verses. Chapter one of John is probably could probably study that for several months and just come up with all kinds of depth to it. But that's what he's saying. He came. He's here. He's been here. He created all of this. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. And then in other passages, you start to put all the puzzle pieces together, and the Word was there at creation. Jesus had a part in creation, as did God the Father, as did God the Holy Spirit. And that gets wrapped up in many places in the scriptures about their part in this reality, which the Greeks had a totally different look on the world and on life and what it was all about and those kinds of things. They were known to be very, very intelligent, deep thinkers, and they were they were on the wanted list of rich Roman citizens to bring them to their home as slaves and teach their kids, to educate their kids in math and other things, because that was their reputation. Paul goes to Athens, and he goes up on that Mars Hill, and all the different gods that are the idols that are there, and they have one idol that's there for the unknown God. And in order to get to a point that he needs to get to with them, that's the one he focuses on. You got all these others, but who's that one? And he begins to teach, and they listen. And he knows how to talk to them because he's been raised with a Greek type education himself. And he knows how to share the truth of them in a language they'll understand. I think that's important for us in giving a testimony to somebody, to not, preach these high sounding things that they won't understand. That's a danger as well for some guys who are pastors. They've gotten a very high education and they speak in those terms. Meanwhile, they're many of the people sitting in their pews are going, what was that word? I never heard that word before. I don't understand that. And all of a sudden they got their phones out and they're Googling what that word is supposed to mean. So a powerful, powerful John's Gospel. Love it. Um, and I have that reputation of taking a whole year, a few years back, just working through John 17. I'll never live it down. But hey, it was worth it because that was Jesus's prayer on that night he was betrayed, and it's the depth of that is incredible. So we have a God who is a person. We have a Savior who's a real live flesh and blood. He took on flesh for us, and he, as the Message Bible puts it, verse 14, he took on flesh and moved into the neighborhood, and that's a great picture. I love it. But anyway, that's the start of John, and we're still in this section, walking with God through pain and suffering. None of that in this one today. We don't have to dive into those things. But I don't know who this fairy. I'll have to look him up in the back. He probably got a list back here of contributors to his thoughts. He summarizes John's message to the culture like this: the divine was no longer an impersonal structure, probably thinking of an idol or a temple or something, but an extraordinary individual. This, Ferry said, was an unfathomable shift which had an incalculable effect on the history of ideas. Interesting. So today, Saturday, um, there are things to do at the church today. We do have a family who was impacted by that fire a month ago now, I think, on the corner of Cherry and Grand, and they're ready to move into a new apartment. And we'll be having somebody from the bridge bring that family down to our church tomorrow to look through what we have on the stage by way of furniture and dishes and whatever they may need. And I'm happy about that. And also have a guy who comes to play basketball on Saturday. He's been asking about renting the gym, not for basketball, but for another thing that he's really into, as far as little race cars driving around a track that they put up. And he was telling me all about it last Saturday, how guys from Syracuse come down for some of those events in the area here. And I don't know how many pictures he's got on his camera, but he's got a bunch of them. So anyway, I'm excited about that because I'm hoping that in cooperating with him in renting the gym out then on Friday nights, um, we can get connected a little bit more. I like him. He's a fun guy, but I know I'm pretty sure he's not a believer. Um, you will recognize that he's come in the door of the gym when you begin to smell marijuana, um, which I'm not going to hold that against him. It's just one of those things in his life he does, and I mean that's pretty common for a lot of people. So pray for me as I try to reach Ty with friendship and just chatting together, and that opens doors. I think that's a good way to 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 move toward showing somebody the love of Christ. You're not judging them, and you're chatting about you know things you share um, as far as sports goes or what he's done. I I think one time in my life I had a little racetrack that I got for Christmas, and the cars, it was a figure eight, and the cars, when the bumpers would hit the other car, parts of the car would fly off. It was fun. I enjoyed doing that, and so I'm glad I didn't get my learner's permit with driving like that. So anyway, just again, we have these spirit appointed connections, and there are two other guys that really um, connected with me, contacted me about opening the gym back up on Saturdays, and they're both believers. Ricky Hill is a guy who does our plowing, snow plowing in the winter. He also helps patch stuff up because he runs a blacktop business as well, and he's a good Christian brother. We have some really good conversations together. I've shared with him the Pilgrim's Progress video. I've been describing it to him. I've shared with him some books also written along those lines, and we had good conversations together. And same with Tro. He actually bought floor mats to put by the doors, so when the guys came in, they wouldn't track stuff out on the gym floor. He gets there early, and he runs the dry mop up and down the court. He's really he told me up front when he started reaching out to me. He said, I'll help any way I can, and so I appreciate that quite a bit. I love the relationship with these guys. We laugh a lot, and then we watch the young guys out on the court playing really well, and remembering when we used to be able to do that. So blessings to you today. Keep an eye out. Always keep an eye out for people who come through your path, and you get a sense that you can connect with them. You may not agree on everything, and that's hardly ever going to happen. But you can build up a friendship with them, and come alongside them, and as John has done here, find a way to touch base with them in a way they'll understand. Some have been hurt by Christians. Earlier in my life, I was put off by Christians, and how I was treated in the church I was attending, and that sent me away from the Lord for a few years. And then by His grace, I met Sue, and she was became the reason I didn't want to live like that anymore. And so, again, it's an important we keep our eyes out for those around us, whether it's checkout person at the grocery store, or neighbors, or whatever the case may be. People will show up. I mean, through Saturday basketball, I've met a lot of different people that I would have never known without that. So again, keep an eye out, and be ready to share the hope of Christ with them if they indicate that that's something they're interested in. So blessings to you today. Get done with your daily Devo, and get on down to the church to run vacuum cleaners and dust windowsills and all that good stuff. All right. So you have a blessed day today. I'm planning on it myself.